Hello, everyone. I'm here. We got a very important guest. We got Serge Bouyssou. We had his son on the show a couple days ago. Got to get the father on. How you doing, Serge?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing
Great to be here.
amazing. Yeah. Excited to talk. So, actually, before I get into Mayo Quanchi and Scituate and everything, I
Yeah.
just want to get to learn more about you. So, are you from Rhode Island originally?
Yeah. My father is from North Africa. He was a French citizen. My mother's family came from Canada. They met here in Rhode Island, and the rest is history. Well,
Wow.
I have trained all over the world and coached all over the world. I'm a native Rhode Islander.
Nice. Good. Love to see that, someone who's stayed in their state the whole time.
Oh yeah.
So, and when I talked to Gabe, he said you were the first one in the family, the one that kind of started the wrestling stuff. So, how did you get into wrestling, or was it judo at first? 'Cause
I
I know
was
that
I
was,
was really more of a judo guy. I mean, I
yeah.
wrestled as a kid. And then I didn't wrestle in high school or college, but I would when was at judo camps, and it was mainly for judo. But if they had freestyle wrestling or whatever, I'd just participate. And I've always been a student of mat sports. It doesn't matter whether it's judo, wrestling, BJJ. They're all so similar. I mean, math is math. That's what a lot of people don't understand. I remember when I first started Mayo Quanchi. First of all, I never even wanted to be a wrestling coach or a judo coach. And
Really?
Mayo Quanchi started as a fight club, not even a judo
Wow.
club. So it was just me that had a bunch of friends that came, and I didn't really want to be a coach at all. And we would just train. And I had done judo my whole life and traveled around and been. At the time when I became a coach, I was doing more like MMA type of stuff than I was doing judo or wrestling or any such thing. And it was by accident that I became a coach. I was just trying to get guys to work out with, really.
Hmm.
And then I got into an altercation on a golf course with a couple of big guys that I won't go into the whole thing, but
Yeah.
anyway, they asked me after if they could bring their nephews down, and their nephews were my first judo students and first wrestling students.
Wow.
That was in like 1994,
Long
93,
way
94.
since
Oh yeah. And so I only stuck to judo at the time when I took those kids in, because at the beginning there was no UFC or
then.
the word MMA was not a thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that we would attract in there was not exactly the kind of people that you want hanging around with kids all the time. So I said, well, let me step back and I'll just start doing judo with all these kids, because my kids were getting old enough to get on the mat. And, the one thing led to another, and I started Mayo Quanchi, and it's as a judo club, and probably 94, 95 right inside there. And then we just stuck to judo for a while and some self-defense type of stuff. And then when my kids were old enough, I ended up putting them in wrestling also. And I tried a bunch of different wrestling clubs, and I was used to world level coaching, so I didn't really want to be a wrestling coach. But because my kids were going to be doing it, I said, all right, well, after trying about 6 different places in the first 2 or 3 years of them wrestling, I said, I've got to just do this myself, because it's not going to.
So,
Yeah. The level of Rhode Island wrestling for a long time was not very well thought of on the national level. We didn't.
that's
Like the first,
now, though.
things have changed drastically now. We're starting to get more national champions, and it's been a long endeavor. Like when I first started the wrestling club, when I first started Mayo Quanchi back in 2002 as a wrestling club, Rhode Island Wrestling actually tried to thwart me becoming a private wrestling club. They said
Really?
the board of directors for Rhode Island Wrestling Association said I could not use the name Mayo Quanchi, and I had to fight them tooth and nail. So the first year of us being a wrestling club, they forced us, even though we were training in West Warwick, they forced us to take a town name. So because I lived in Scituate, I ended up taking the town name Scituate Wrestling for that first year. And then I had to fight them through USA Wrestling and other means. And, you know, eventually they had to concede and let me be Mayo Quanchi Wrestling Club.
And what was the deal with the name? Did they have some sort of rights to the name or something, or?
No, they had no rights to the name. They just didn't want a private wrestling club. They wanted the town and rec leagues to have exclusive rights to any wrestlers. Or they were not receptive to me at all. So right out of the gate, I had a lot of pushback because I had to fight for everything. And when you're trying to make change in a system, you're gonna get a fight. And like, I'm fine with fighting. It's fine. I'm just gonna keep doing what we do, and we kept growing. Now we have kids that are my own children are opening up their own clubs, and my daughter-in-law and son-in-law opened up Iron Faith. My daughter and my son-in-law opened up Iron Faith along with Steven's brother Ebed, and now they have Michael there, and
just
that's
another location too. They're doing a great job.
My other daughter Sandra and my son-in-law Brett have a judo and BJJ club in South County called Elevate Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. Now one of the kids that I coached as a kid, all growing up, Sean Giblin, has Milo Wrestling Club. So, I really think I've won the battle. I think we've changed the face of Rhode Island wrestling. And there's other clubs that are popping up. There's another new club named Road Rage.
I haven't heard of it yet.
Black. Oh, you will. The kid's a real good kid. His name's Brady Gillis. Nice kid, nice family. I wish him all the luck. We need competition too, so any way that I could possibly help Brady in his endeavor to have a club, like I don't shun competition. We need rivalries within
iron sharpens iron,
That's right. The majority of my really good wrestlers go to I'm not saying all of my really good wrestlers, but the majority of them go to Xavier High School, Ponagansett High School, and Coventry High School. That's where the majority of the Mayo Quanchi elites go. And Scituate is coming along, but I'm not cherry picking in my club to tell all the studs that they should go there. Like Peyton Ellis and Gabriel have grown up on a mat together. I didn't tell Peyton or Hayden Myers or any of those guys that they had to come to Scituate. I didn't try to pressure anybody to do that.
Could have easily made a super team, but you chose it's good because you got to keep the parity around the state.
I understand that Rhode Island has to come up across the board. It can't just be like, if it's too lopsided, if Ponagansett just wins everything always for the next 10 years, it's not going to be good for wrestling as a whole. It's great for Ponagansett and the few kids that are going to go there, but as a whole, we need rivalry. We need to continually build other programs. So I prefer to build Scituate slowly as a program, as opposed to just bringing all the kids from Mayo Quanchi. I don't care where kids go to school. I'll help you. Makes no difference to me.
Yeah,
Mayo Quanchi is like Switzerland.
you get the kids back during the off season, so it's okay.
I'm going to tell you this: the kids that are the most dedicated, they still come during the season. They'll go to their practice, and then they'll try to get to Mayo Quanchi once or twice a week. And that's not for everybody. Not every kid can handle that academic load and wrestling schedule and do the extra. But then you have kids like Gabriel who thrive off of it, and Raekwon Shabazz who thrives off it, Hayden Myers, Peyton Ellis. There's a whole group of them that I think we had 5 New England champs and 7 total New England finalists in high school this year that train at Mayo Quanchi, and 2 high school national champions, and however many All-Americans. Like, I don't know that another club has that.
Yeah,
something.
It's definitely quite an accomplishment, especially, not just coming out of New England, but the smallest state in the country, producing that sort of talent.
Well, for years, we were mainly a judo club that concentrated on judo and did some wrestling. And what we've done is we've basically switched that. And the reason why we switched that is because there's really no future in judo for kids. If you go to the Olympics, it's going to cost you probably about $1 million to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
I would say that's what I paid for my daughter Caitlin to get up to that Olympic level, and she won Youth Olympic Games, placed at World Championships 3 times, and it's probably cost $1 million. Now, as an elite athlete, maybe she gets $1,500 or $1,800 a month. You know how long you got to collect $1,800 a month to get something out of that? And as soon as you're not one of the top producers, you lose that money. So you're better off going the wrestling route and getting the education. And, even if you can't get a scholarship, not every kid that wrestles is going to get a scholarship. Let's face it. Full ride scholarships are few and far between. For every, 1 kid that gets a full ride scholarship, there's 100 that are not going to get that or more. But what they do get is sometimes they'll get discounts. Sometimes they'll get extra aid. A lot of times they'll get more help in college. And then they'll get into colleges that then they would never normally get into. Let's face it. Let's just be honest. Gabriel is a wonderful and smart kid and a hell of a wrestler, right? But is he getting into Cornell without being the level of wrestler that he is? I don't know about it. Maybe not.
Cornell's a tough
I know.
school.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with admitting that. Now,
not at all.
His GPA, I think, is like 3.6 or 3.7. I'm not exactly sure. But there are kids that have grades so much higher than him. Mm-hmm. So, to my point, though, is that you can get into schools that you would never get into with wrestling. And that will never, ever happen for you with judo. Never. Yeah. Most people don't even know what judo is. They don't realize it's the 2nd largest sport in the world. What's big in judo? Oh, 100%. And I put it like this. You think wrestling's big because it's bigger in the United States, but it has nowhere near the amount of participation worldwide that judo does. Nowhere near it.
Wow.
You look at the statistics and look it up on YouTube. Khabib talking about judo and the different level of judo to wrestling. That's Khabib, right? There's approximately 180 participating countries in judo at the Olympics. There's only 50 some odd countries participating in wrestling in the Olympics.
I had no idea judo is that popular,
Yeah, it just because it's not big. Yeah, just look at soccer. Soccer's the largest sport in the world.
Yeah, same. In America, it's not. So
it's just not. It's not like it is in Europe and other places in the world. And judo is a lot like that. It's just a lot bigger worldwide. But the problem we have here is that we're not living outside the world. We're living here in the United States. So we're going to continue to do what fits us for this country, and that's wrestling. And I happen to love wrestling. I love judo and wrestling for different reasons. And I think that if you have sort of a hybrid like we have at Mayo Quanchi, and you can meld the two together, you're better off. You'll hear a lot of people say judo's no good for wrestling. That's just foolish talk. Judo's no good for wrestling.
I find that very hard to believe, just with the amount of, I could see judo, at least for Roman wrestling, being one of the best things to train, just with all the
cross training.
And yeah.
But you still need to learn how to wrestle. This is what I tell my judo players. Forget you ever did judo the day you step on wrestling. Let everything happen for you. Like, you would never know if Gabriel was a national wrestling champion until you see him pull something out of his back pocket. He can wrestle. He does singles. He does doubles. He does everything everybody else does in wrestling, except he's got a few secret weapons that people have a difficult time stopping, like that foot sweep. Steve Makaw was a great judo player. A lot of people don't know that.
Really?
Steve Makaw was competing on the senior level as a young teenager.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of people that just, I think it's different to them, so they kind of shun it, and I think that's getting a lot better now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people that have a lot of things to say.
Really, I think with honestly the popularity of MMA and UFC, all mat sports are just growing. You know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think judo will ever be big in the United States. I think there's like 30,000 judo players, but you know, the rest of them are. And what's the difference between judo and BJJ? Not a lot. There's not a ton. Like, you could do chokes, you could do arm bars, you could do throws. Judo just concentrates more on his feet than
BJJ is just on the mat. Yeah,
and you can't grab the leg anymore in judo. You used to be able to, but not anymore. Until you hit the floor. Once you hit the floor, then you can grab the legs all you want.
So is judo basically like for the takedown aspect? It's very similar to Greco.
Yeah, it's very similar to Greco, and the hand fighting is relevant. I mean, if you can get used to getting bear hugs and things like that when somebody's wearing a gi and can hold you out on their gi, it gets a little bit easier to do it in wrestling. I mean, I'm not saying like every judo player is going to win or everybody should do judo or any of those such things, but you know, it definitely helps. It definitely gives you a secret weapon. It definitely gives when I like it is I like it at the young ages, not even at the older ages. Once you hit 12, 13 years old, it's time to start putting judo on the back burner. Do it once in a while. But when you're younger, you don't want to burn out. So it gives kids something different, like a freestyle and Greco do. It's just a different look for kids so that they don't burn out. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reason why wrestlers burn out. You think of the number of people that start wrestling and then how many of them quit. The majority of wrestlers quit. The vast majority. Wrestling is a grind. And one of the biggest reasons why kids quit is it's hard. It's the hardest sport in the world. And then you start adding things like cutting weight to it, and it gets harder. Kids start losing their mind. I like Gabriel didn't cut weight. He didn't start cutting weight until probably this year, where he started cutting a few pounds. And even at that now, he went 138 at NHSCA, and I said, time to go up. Let's go to 145, get bigger, get stronger. The key to winning is not being the smaller guy. The key to winning is getting stronger and practicing technique. I shoved technique down our kids' throats at Mayo Quanchi over and over and over and over. And, you know, it's paying off. I mean, it's working.
So talk to me about Mayo Quanchi a little bit. Like you emphasize technique a lot there. What does like an average practice look like? So
that cyclically changes, you know, depending on like the time of year. Like this time of year when we're getting ready for Fargo, we're not really learning a lot of new stuff. Yeah. So we'll come in and we'll get our warm up. Usually takes about 20 minutes to a half an hour to finish your warm up, where you're doing, you know, some push-ups, some pull-ups, some calisthenics, walk across the floor on your hands, front hand-springs, back hand-springs, cartwheels. Then you're doing your stance in motion, and then whatever Coach Shabazz has to throw at them usually is not incredibly fun for them. It's fun for us to watch, but it's not necessarily always fun for them. Then at this time of year, we'll go over a lot of situations. We'll review situations, like we're doing a filth series. Grab the ankle filth arm drag firemen's. I don't know if you've seen some of Gabriel's stuff where he does that wrist snap. We call it the filth. Wrist snap, ankle pick, wrist snap, ankle pick drag, wrist snap, ankle pick drag, firemen's. And then we'll drill that, and then we'll allow 20 minutes for our kids, because if you look at wrestlers at Mayo Quanchi, no two kids wrestle alike, right? So we'll give like 20 minutes to a half an hour for the kids to work on their own wrestling right now, and then we play wrestle. So if you watch anything on like Penn State, this is where we get from judo a lot. In judo, they'll call it randuri, where you get free practice. And if you're not being thrown in free practice, it means you're not practicing right. If nobody takes you down in wrestling practice, you're not practicing right. If you go in that room, and I don't care if you're 145 and you're working out with 106 pounders, you should be trying new things and developing stuff and developing your skills to the point where you're getting taken down by these guys and it doesn't matter. And then it's beneficial to them and it's beneficial to you. Play wrestling is something that is very, very much underestimated. Now, the thing is, that's for Fargo prep right now. But for the younger kids, we don't do a lot of play wrestle because they don't have a lot of skills in their pocket to draw from. So with the young kids, we'll do more situational stuff. You're going to get this rush and you're going to try to score with this snap down or this, and we'll give you a series of things that you're allowed to do. Then we'll do things like 50% defense. You've got to defend yourself 50% for the next 2 minutes, and each guy will go every 4 minutes. You switch partners. So I go, you go, and then we switch partners and do that around the room. I'm very much an offense-oriented club. We do some defense,
I like that straight attacking, go. You know,
offense is where it's at. Offense wins you matches over and over and over again.
You can't win if you can't score. You know,
that's right. 80% of matches are won by the guy that gets the first takedown. That's a statistical fact.
That's an important statistic.
If you watch Gabriel, the way his wrestling, the way I developed his wrestling, it fits him, and he has one direction. You might beat him, but you're not going to beat him laying down. It ain't going to be him defending himself. He's coming after you. And that's just the way it is. And it'll serve you well. It'll serve you well in the long run when colleges are looking at you. They want go-getters. They want guys.
The kids that are going to have that gas tank, that could just take
points on that board,
per period,
Yeah. They want guys that are going to put points on that board or die trying.
Yeah, literally.
And everybody loses. Like for Gabe too. Even still, this is the developmental time. It's not the end. It's just the beginning, really. And
he's technically not even a senior.
Right. So he still has another 2 years to develop before he steps on the Division I mat. I'm happy that he made the choice to go to Cornell. He had a lot of really good programs to choose from. There were a lot of people very fond, made some great financial offers to him with the new NIL stuff. It was incredible.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm excited for him. He's going to hopefully get a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, the key is right now, just forget all that stuff and just concentrate on getting better every day. Don't think about what's been done, what you're gonna like today, every day from here on out. Everybody waits on motivation. Do I feel like going to practice? Do I not feel like going to practice? I don't think that's the key to success. I think discipline is the key to success. Like, I'm going to practice every single day. And it's what I tell my kids: go to practice every day. Grind every single day.
Yeah,
one of the biggest things that I lose athletes for, to be perfectly honest with you, is I lose athletes because a lot of people want things now and they think grass is greener on the other side. So what I have kids, when they start getting to be rising stars, all of a sudden they have all these people that supposedly know something telling them, well, this is what you got to do to get good. You've got to do this. You got to train this way. You got to go like that. And I have kids that are going like that, and all of a sudden they go like that, and then they're going like that. And I see it time again. It's heartbreaking. Like, I always tell people, if you're going to take advice from someone, like, make sure that it's somebody that's produced national champions. not talking about it, because there's the number of people that talk about what people need to do to get better. Like, I'll give you, for instance, I was watching a football game with a friend this year, and my buddy was telling me, like, "Oh, Bill Belichick's got to do this. He's got to do this and this and this." And I said, "Hey, man, you never even played football.
Yeah.
What are you talking? Right. What are you talking about? How do you sit here and say this guy's got to do this and that? You have no idea what you're even talking about."
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with wrestling, and it's the same thing with judo. People talk like they're experts and they know something, and they've never produced anything ever. A lot of times it's kids' parents too, where suddenly they get a kid that starts going like this and they become professionals. They know what the kid needs.
They think they're, the coach, the agent, the manager,
Yeah. And then it's always like, they want more attention. Well, if you want more attention, come get it. Put yourself in front of it. That's what I say at my club. I'm not a guy that's gonna. You've never been to Mayo Quanchi, right?
No, not yet.
It's two full mat areas. It's not like this is what we call the scrapyard. This is where we do our private lessons. It's at my house. This is strictly for kids that want to be on the elite level and nothing different. This is not where you come to. If you're not a 100% dedicated wrestler, this is where you got to be if you want to wrestle at the Division 1, or even just become the best you could possibly be. This is where we're gonna filter you to. But so a lot of times you'll see that people just get distracted. I mean, there's enough distractions in life as it is, right? Girls, boys, school, homework, keeping some semblance of balanced life. Yeah. It's hard to begin with. And then when you have somebody that's suddenly a professional in your ear saying, you don't need to do that. This is what you need to do. Or you don't need to do that. And this is what you need to do. It's hard. And there's not one thing that you can do about it. And then you have the people like at the tournaments that hate you or they're jealous of you, and they're always going to try to get in your athletes and their parents' ears. "Oh, you got to do this. You got to come here." It's like, I mean, if you really want to, go ahead. I don't even fight people. If you want to do something different, go right ahead. You'll get zero fight from me.
Just let them, have them see the results, and then you're.
I find you better off.
Great. Yep.
If I have to convince you that Mayo Quanchi is the place for you, if you can't figure out that we had 7 New England champs this year, 7 New England finalists, 2 national champs, and however many All-Americans this year, it's in the teens. I don't know what to tell you, right? Yeah. I'm not saying that there's not other wrestling clubs. Like Gabriel's wrestled for Doughboy. We've ventured out, and I've allowed my kids to wrestle for some other wrestling clubs. Like I have respect for Doughboys and Smitty's and some of the others. There are some guys around that actually know what they're doing. But that you just have to be careful who you're getting advice from. Like, sit down and look. Like, what have they produced? If you're going to tell me how to get to a national championship and you've never produced one national champion, are you the person I need to talk to about becoming a national champion? Maybe not. Maybe I need to find somebody that's produced a bunch of national champions. Like, we only switched over to be a dedicated wrestling club like 3 years ago now, just before Gabriel went into high school. So in that time, you think about the number of NCAA All-Americans, regardless of what level they were at. My son-in-law, Steven, took second. Mm-hmm. Derek Adams took fourth. Joao Vicente took sixth. Sean Giblin placed. There's plenty of All-Americans. And in a high school level, how many New England champions do we have? How many national champions do we have now on the high school level? Not a ton, but it's growing.
Yeah.
Raekwon Shabazz, Gabriel, Josiah Fry.
More than most clubs in New England,
Yeah. So, it's growing. You have to understand, like, our geography that we deal with there's not a ton of wrestlers. Mm-hmm. One of the things I love about Iron Faith, which we're not in competition with Iron Faith. We're not going to lose people to each other. And if I lose a kid to my daughter's club or to my son-in-law's club,
what are you going to do?
No, I really don't care. I mean,
Yeah.
good for them. But one of the things I love what Ebbett and all of them are doing over there is that they're growing the base of the sport. If they're going to lose kids, they're going to lose them to football, baseball, basketball, and things like that. They're not going to lose them to each other. And that's amazing that they're helping to actually grow the sport. They just opened their second location. I love that.
Yep, that's awesome. You know, just expanding. You know, giving more kids the opportunity. You know, it's great.
100% opportunity and experience will bring you places. It's just wrestling has so many opportunities and so many things for you to experience. Like I have kids going to Fargo this year that I do not know that they'll win more than one match, but they asked me if I thought that they should go to Fargo, and I said absolutely you should go to Fargo. 100%. It's an experience. Like how often do you ever get to go and be in the same place with 7,500 other wrestlers?
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. Just those numbers alone to go and see the Fargo Dome. I mean, I'm not in love with going to Fargo. I've got to be there for 10 days. Like the same thing all day, all night, every day, every night, sweltering heat and every other thing. It's just me, Giblin, and Claro going to be running around trying to coach.
Trying to catch
20,
up to everyone.
20 athletes. I'm going to drop 10 pounds. Literally.
Yeah,
We got Joao Vicente coming too. So Joao's going to, I think, coach the girls. And then he's not staying the whole 10 days. He's smarter than all of us. He's not staying the whole 10 days. Yeah, you'll lose your mind.
I'm going to say, see you suckers.
Yeah. So I'm hoping, I see New England as a whole. Obviously, I put Rhode Island first, but I'm a New Englander too. I mean, I want New England wrestling to grow. I want us to have a powerhouse of wrestling. Why not? Why can't we?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that and before people would talk and they talk about Pennsylvania, and they talk about New Jersey and Long Island and all this other stuff. I don't care what they're doing. I really don't. Like, there's no reason why we cannot compete with everybody. And we're proving it right now. We can. New Englanders can compete with everyone. There's plenty of good clubs in New England for you to be able to get the experience that you look at the kid Raekwon Shabazz, right?
Mm-hmm. The jumps he's made, it's been
that's in 2 years since he joined Mayo Quanchi, right?
Yeah.
He was not placing even very high at Connecticut States. His level went
0-2. I remember he went 0-2 at New England's, and then I think the next year, he wins it, and I'm pretty sure I don't know if he beat one of the kids that beat him when he went 0-2 when he won it. But like that, the kid that beat him the year prior, didn't even make the podium, and it just shows the levels, that he made.
He's driving an hour and 15 minutes each direction, 5 nights a week to be at Mayo Quanchi. And matter of fact, we started camp a few weeks ago with Marco and all the Mike Gray and all those guys.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that too. The camp on that. How was it?
Great. It was awesome. How often do kids in New England get the exposure to that many great coaches? It's just not a normal thing for them to get that many great looks from coaches. And we're going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to bring in the Cornell guys and every guy that I can possibly see that'll help our program. I don't care what I have to pay to do that. I know that the benefit to our wrestlers is huge. And those guys are pretty reasonable. They want to work with you. They want to see wrestling grow. They want to see kids like Gabriel have opportunities, and not just Gabriel, but other kids just like him.
They're looking for the next diamond in the rough, like Gabe.
That's right.
Like the next diamond hidden away in this small cluster of states.
Well, let me tell you something. If you act the right way and you wrestle the right way, you'll get coaches. Everybody thinks that just being from Rhode Island is anthem to coaches, but when you start winning, they know that you are not near the peak of your platform if you're from Rhode Island. They know that if you can be a kid like Gabriel, or not, you don't even have to be Gabriel. You can be close to Gabriel, and these colleges are going to look at you and say, "Okay, where is this kid's threshold actually?" If he's from Rhode Island and this is his partners, what is his capability if we stick him in a room full of D1 wrestlers, right? Yeah. That's the way they think. A lot of the coaches, that when they looked at Gabriel and they saw his wrestling style and they saw what he did, the way he puts points on the board, just the way he wrestles, and they think to themselves, and this is not a joke, they think to themselves, like, what is this kid's capability when I stick him in a room full of D1 guys?
Yeah, like what could he do if you take him out of New England? You know,
right? So being from New England is not a death sentence. In fact, it can actually help you.
Yeah, because if you show out, you know, like,
yeah,
just it boosts your what's the your draft stock, or I mean not your draft stock, but you know,
your just marketability.
Yeah, and it also just helps everyone else in the region as well, just because they're like, oh, maybe there's some more of these guys down here. Like, oh, these guys have been training with this guy. You know, they must be getting better too.
I over the last year have had a ton of coaches now starting to call me saying, hey, who should we be looking at? Right? So that's starting to happen more and more. And the more we get out there. So basically what I do is, there was a time when Mayo Quanchi was the best judo club in the country by far. We had half of the world team was being made up of my team, right? Mayo Quanchi guys made up half the world. That was ridiculous, right? So we just took that model and we're using it for wrestling. So I'm going to get you the exposure that you need, get you the exposure to college coaches, get you the different looks. Even when you're not going to other places to train, we are bringing in the people to get the looks that you need to get. And we're not afraid. Like, I'll bring kids over to Cornell. I'll bring kids over to American Top, work out with Markow. We're building a network that is going to just continue to grow and continue to help these kids with what they need. And then one day, when my kids all take over, I will happily retire and then just go from one place to another.
Then you'll just be able to be a spectator without having to worry about anything.
The day will come when I am just a spectator. It's not anytime soon, but that day will come, and I'll enjoy it when it's time. But right now, I got energy and I've got the will to make sure that we succeed on the national level higher than we've ever done. I mean, as a state and as a team, not just a state. I guarantee it's going to keep happening. I got a stable of kids underneath this. This group that I have in high school now, Raekwon, Peyton, Gabriel, Hayden Myers, Jack Richardson. There was a ton. David Prez. I got a group under them that I think is actually going to be better than them.
Wow, really?
Well, they had longer in that system as opposed to just being at a rec club or a judo club, where they're getting more exposure at earlier ages. So yeah, I have a few kids that I think are going to be just as good or better than Gabriel.
Continue talking. I believe we were talking a little bit about the camp, and I think we were also talking about like the jumps Raekwon made.
Oh yeah, he's made insane jumps, but he works at it. That kid drives an hour and 15 minutes to each direction each day, even after camp. Like, he went home for one day, then he just spent the last week at my house and getting up and training with Gabe, like, constantly. Behind me, they have tape review. They watch tapes. Like, they're just in a grind that they want to be in. I'm not telling them what to do for the most part. When they want to do the extra, they'll just come down here on their own, and they'll train. They do it for fun.
Him and Gabe definitely seemed like two peas in a pod, you know? Like, I remember when I interviewed Gabe, he was like, yeah, Raekwon's in the room right behind me, just about to train after.
Yeah. They really are two peas in a pod. It's hilarious. Wherever you see Gabe, Raekwon won't be far away. Now he's back home because he leaves tomorrow for Fargo. But his dad comes in. His dad's great. Raekwon's dad's great at running warm-ups and a lot of strength and condition and stuff. So, I mean, at Mayo Quanchi, if you have something good to give, like, there's a place that you can come and give something good. We'll take anyone that wants to do something good. If you're not there to give something good, it's time to go. If you're just there to, like, other reasons aside from everyone else around you, then it's not the place for you. But if you're there for the right reasons, there's literally a place for everyone at Mayo Quanchi.
And so,
But
what is it you think that makes Mayo Quanchi like different and stand out and keeps these kids coming back?
not all the kids not all the kids stay back. It's not the place for everybody. It's a little hard. Like, we have a difficult time with.
But the kids that do come back, why do they come back?
Well, I think we've made like a family atmosphere at Mayo Quanchi. I actually care about kids. My wife and I have had like 50 foster kids in our life.
Wow.
So we actually, care. It's hard to find a coach that doesn't, that actually really cares about you. And then a lot of people do it for their own reasons. And obviously I get a lot out of it. I like winning. I like having kids win. There's no doubt about it that I want to win, and I want the kids to win, and I am driven. And I think that one of the things that I'm able to encourage into kids is discipline. Discipline. A lot of it comes from the judo philosophy, but discipline will help you get to practice when you don't want to go. Who the heck wants to go to practice every single day? Do you?
I don't. I do not at all. I didn't when I was in high school. I don't now.
I mean, there are the few guys like Gabriel that do want to go to practice every day, twice a day, 5 times if you let them. But most people don't want to do that. Even him. It takes discipline. It takes discipline, and it takes time. He didn't even want to wrestle. He used to cry his way to practice every day. He wanted to just stick to judo. He's like, I don't like wrestling. Wrestling sucks. I just want to stick to judo. I was like, oh yeah, that's nice. My nephew Josiah Fry, same thing. Josiah Fry wanted to quit wrestling. Mason Clark quit wrestling for a year and just stuck to judo. And I eventually
did judo too.
Mason Clark was a great judo player. Mason Clark,
right?
Yeah, Mason Clark was a world team member, and he was a Mayo Quanchi guy since he's like 6 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, he grew up at Mayo Quanchi, and still I talk to Mason all the time. He's over at Columbia, doing amazing. Like, that kid's winning at life. The wrestling world never even saw the best of Mason Clark, because let me tell you something, that kid is unreal. Wow. Not just as an athlete, but as a person and as an academic. Mason Clark is off the chart. Like, what a good kid he is.
Kid's going places.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we've had a lot of kids like that, and a lot of kids that people don't realize even came out of Mayo Quanchi, because we haven't been on the national scene a ton, and we were mainly a judo club. Like, people don't know that Evan Jarrell and Steven Jarrell grew up doing judo and wrestling at Mayo Quanchi.
Yeah,
I dragged them around the world doing judo. And they were part of our wrestling club when we were not a fully committed wrestling club. We wrestled during the season, but then at the end of the season, we'd kind of cut back and maybe wrestle a day a week or anything like that. It was mainly a judo club, which it's switched now, obviously. But I think what this group of people have to show is that if you're from New England, you can excel in wrestling. All these other people that are winning, they are the same as all the New England kids. It's no different. Yes, maybe they have a deeper base of coaching. Yes, maybe they have a deeper base of kids winning. But if people are willing to put their pride aside and stop in at Mayo Quanchi, you're gonna find out it's not like an unwelcoming atmosphere, and you're gonna be on the mat with the best high school wrestlers in New England. Mm-hmm. 7 of them, and I think
you got more in there,
Well, with middle school and high school, then that I think we had, 14 New England champs or something. All total, maybe even more. I don't know the numbers, to be honest with you. I don't really give a shit about it right now. All I care about is, are we getting better every single day? Mm-hmm. Too many people worry about getting better than other people. I still have coaches in Rhode Island on the high school level tell athletes they cannot wrestle varsity if they go to Mayo Quanchi.
What? What, they have like a vendetta against you or something?
Yeah, they don't like me.
That hurts the kid and the team more than it hurts you, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt me because I'm going to make a champion out of somebody, whether it's your kid or not. You're not.
And if anything, it gives the kid a better, like, it sees. So I don't know how to word this. The kid sees you in a better light than the coach of their high school team. Then at that point, because no one likes an ultimatum, you know. Like,
yeah, I have to tell you that I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that people take losing on a personal level. Here's the bottom line: is I want to help everybody. I don't care who you are. I want to help you. If you want to get better, I'm going to help you. Even if you're my rival, I'll help my rivals. Mm-hmm. My rivals will help me too. I have no issue with that. That's you need rivalry. You're not getting anywhere without rivals, bud. Yeah. It's not going to happen. Now, I do tell kids, like, take it easy. Don't go back to your high school practice and tell your coach, well, this is the way Serge does it at Mayo Quanchi, because that's just not respectful either. We had a few kids over the years that have probably done that kind of thing where they're, as a matter of fact, I know I had a couple do that. And I just tell them point blank, like, that's not good. But right out of the gate, when we started Mayo Quanchi, we had a lot of pushback from the wrestling community. Like, who are these guys? Who do they think he is? This judo guy coming in, going to show us how to wrestle, going to show us how to do stuff. Everybody said I wasn't going to be able to do it. Some of them still do. Some of them say
you're wrong.
I'm not going to mention their names, but they'll know. If they're watching this, they're going to know exactly who.
Yeah.
Some say, "Oh, Gabe's not really not that good of a wrestler. He's just in like weak weight classes and stuff like that." I'm like, yeah, I don't even need to respond to that. You make yourself sound stupid.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, 145 is just weak all across the country. Okay, yep.
yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, in my opinion. Now maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, 126 to 145 are the hardest weight classes.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Period.
I think so too. I think you could even. I think even up until like 160 maybe. But like those middleweights, those heavy lightweights to middleweights, I think are definitely the hardest weight class.
You were talking to Jackson the other day, and we were talking about the toughest weight classes in New England, and at the New England tournament that he was in one of them. Well, I'll tell you what, when Gabriel took second to Kai Odell in his freshman year. Yeah, and the Spartan.
Yeah, those were demons.
That New England's was the hardest New England's in my mind. Mm-hmm. It was so much deeper, and the weight cut restrictions weren't there. So you had just flat 145 or no? So you had a 4-pound weight allowance, and you didn't have to do a skin fold test.
Okay.
And it was a weigh-in 3 days before. There was one weigh-in. It was 3 days before finals. So when Gabe was wrestling Kai Odell, even Kai told me, which Kai Odell is a great kid, by the way. Mm-hmm. He was absolutely so humble when he beat Gabriel. He's like, look, I can feel how much bigger than I am. He was just very forthcoming about that. Like, if you did that in a season, it wouldn't work. Like, you couldn't do that in today's New England. But it was great for Gabriel. It was a great experience. So you had Kai Odell. You had
Darling.
Grabansky,
I remember was there.
You had Max Leet in that division. You had Drew Courier in that division, the kid that beat Josiah Fry for third the year before. Mm-hmm. That was just a ridiculous weight class like I haven't seen. And Kai. And, thankfully Gabriel got another crack at Kai when Gabriel was a little bigger and a little older. Mm-hmm. The next year it was a little more equal playing ground.
Beat him by like the same score too.
It was literally like a flip.
I beat him 12-5 and Gabe won 12-4 or something like that.
Gabe went into the match a little bit timid and a little bit intimidated, and Kai picked him up and slammed the shit out of him. He slammed him good, and I was like, "Oh no, is Gabriel
He's in his head now?
This match? Is this the way this is gonna go?" and then you just saw Gabriel unleash holy hell on that kid. It was a great feeling. I mean, you know, as weird as it sounds, I kind of felt bad for Kai, because I actually really liked the kid. Like, I'm not one of those guys to hate my rivals. If you beat one of our guys or you beat my kid, I don't hate you. I actually respect you for it. And I want to see what you did, how you prepared, figure you out. That's what we did with Kai. I said, this is what you got to do. This is the way we trained. That's when you saw a lot of the Russian series that Gabriel does start coming into play. We started playing with those things, and you know, it worked. It paid off. And I give the kid that just beat Gabriel in the finals of Fargo from Florida a lot of props. Elvis Castellanos. Is it Elvis? No, Elvis.
In the front,
how to forget it. Of Pan Am's.
Okay, yeah. From the kid,
they did an amazing job.
From Puerto Rico, I think.
Yeah. He's actually from Florida. And,
oh, really?
Gabriel, they've wrestled before, and Gabriel is, you know, taking care of him pretty handily before. But that kid had a great game plan coming in for Gabriel. So I don't get hurt feelings or something different. Of course, I want to win. I want to win like bad, but I'm not like, oh, I hate that guy. He beat him. Like, it's not good. That doesn't help anybody. Mm-hmm. Embrace your rivals. Like, look at it as a learning experience. Learn from it. Learn from them. Learn from yourself. The guy I love, my favorite wrestler of all time was Dave Schultz. If you, and I didn't meet him, I only met him like one time. I can't say I trained from him or anything, but the one time I met that guy, he was so gracious, it wasn't funny. And then I was watching some documentaries on him, and when people would beat him, he'd walk over and say, "Hey man, great job. Hey, can you show me what you did to me? Like, that was amazing." And people would gladly show him what they did. And that's why I have so much respect for that guy.
Yeah.
For me,
Here, continue. Sorry.
For me, I just want us all to win, like on the world level at the end of the day. So one of the things, being the youth Olympic team coach for the United States and being a world team coach a lot of times for USA Judo, one of the things that you learn is that at the end of the day, but we're all on the same team. Like, I don't want to like wish hate in my opponents to fail, because that means in the end I'm going to fail too. If we're all on the same team at the end of the day, we got to build one another up. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having healthy rivalries. Of course, you go on the mat and kick the shit out of each other and do what you need to do, but maybe you clap each other on the back after and show each other what you're doing to get better. Right?
Off the mat, it's all got to be respect, you know?
Off the mat, it's all got to be respect.
That's why I like wrestling and, you know, MMA and those combat sports where you basically, you know, you kill each other for 5 to 10 minutes or whatever, and then you step out, you shake hands, and that's it. You know?
100%. So, you know, going back to the other stuff, like with camp, we brought in all these really high-level coaches, and our kids got to interact with them a lot. And what they realize is these guys are just normal guys like you and I. And it's great for our kids to recognize that and see that. Like, I can do that. I can get good enough to go and compete at this level. If this guy can do that, I can do it too, because they're just normal. They're normal people like you and I. The difference is they had dedication, not just motivation. They had dedication, and they stuck through with something. Obviously, they were gifted in their field, but it's possible for everybody.
Here, let's shift back to talking about New England's in high school. So, were you the coach of Scituate during that, or when did you start coaching Scituate?
I started coaching Scituate.
Scituate, sorry.
No, it doesn't matter. Scituate. Nothing about
funny. One of my best friend's moms. I was talking to her the other day. She graduated from Pontigansett, so she knows all the schools in the area. And I called it Scituate to her, and she was like, "If you ever call it that, don't call it that if you're ever in the town." I was like, "No." So Scituate. Yep.
So anyway, I tried to get Scituate years ago to open up a wrestling program, and they denied us. It's
Wow.
when my son Serge and my daughter Caitlin were coming up wrestling. And so they ended up going over to Cranston West with all the other Mayo Quanchi kids. And I was helping coach at Cranston West back in that day. That was, I think, Serge graduated in 2013, and Caitlin and Steven and Eben and all those guys, they graduated like right around that area from 2014 down to 2011 or 12.
And the Geralds, they went to like East Greenwich?
They went to East Greenwich, yeah. Their coach is a very good friend of mine, Joe Yamato. That guy was an amazing coach. Like they had a great high school wrestling coach too, who worked well with Mayo Quanchi. Like he still comes in. He was during camp. He came in to visit to watch what was going on. He stopped coaching years ago. East Greenwich is East Greenwich is back up and running. It's a hard school to run a program because it's a very affluent community, and they don't put a lot of emphasis on wrestling. So those guys that are over there working, coaching, are doing a real good job, like getting kids in the room. And it's hard when you don't have someone inside the school. But in Scituate, so I started out with them as soon as they started. When they decided, that the principal actually called me. And so what I used to do at my house is I had an Olympic development program. So kids that wanted to go to the Olympics for judo, they would come and live at my house. One kid after another kid was going, because they made these CTE programs and it's costing the schools thousands of dollars. They kept going to different schools. They'd go to Coventry, like Ashley Klingberg went over to Coventry, and other kids would go over to other places, right? Because Scituate didn't have a wrestling program. So the principal, who was a great guy, called me up on the phone and said, "Hey, Serge, like, this is costing the town hundreds of thousands of dollars. What do we have to do?" And I told him, I said, "Listen, you would not keep losing kids to Scituate." I approached the school years and years ago, multiple times, about running a program there, and they said, "No, we don't have those kind of kids," which I don't know what that means. We don't have those kind of kids.
Yeah, like what?
And we don't have the space, we don't have the ability, we don't have the. So I said, if you start the wrestling program, I'll coach for the first couple of years for free. I'll help you get a mat, I'll help you get sponsorships. And then I hooked up with Dan Casey. I said, "Dan, I have to coach the middle school for a year while Gabriel's there before I can come up into the high school." And so the first year was basically, I was the middle school coach and Dan was the high school head coach. And then we moved over to being co-high school head coaches. And we now have Scott Dumont, which is another Mayo Quanchi parent, and his wife, Megan, helping coach the middle school. And the whole thing's just growing. It's like a grassroots program that's growing, and I'm loving every minute of it. Mm-hmm. The CTE programs do allow kids like to move areas to be able to go to school where, if they have a program that they don't want. And I think like schools have had a difficult time providing kids with everything that they need in order to achieve at the academic and athletic level, because what a lot of the schools were discounting is the fact that kids that are playing sports and our academics are going to get into those Ivy League schools and those upper echelon schools that they normally wouldn't get into. So the schools that were marginalizing their services by only providing academics and no emphasis or no ability to play certain sports were underestimating the benefit to being an academic athlete. So kids are naturally going to go to where they can get the services. You don't have to tell kids you've got to go here or there. Like, I'll give you for instance. A lot of people like to throw stones at Ponagansett and say, "Oh well, he's recruiting." He doesn't have to recruit. Everybody knows he's providing a service academically for kids. Yeah. He's got a great program for kids that kids want to go to. He doesn't have to run around telling everybody come to Ponagansett. They're going there on their own. Parents are talking about it. People are saying, "Hey, I'm having a great experience here." So, you know,
Not his fault.
people
The
just
school
gotta,
just
yeah.
great, you know.
If you're not providing kids what you need to provide them, then it's your problem for losing them. Provide them what they need, and then you're not going to lose people. Like, don't cry because Mike Joyce has built a great program at Quanchi. Build a great program yourself.
Yeah, build one to rival his, you know.
Well, I have kids in Mayo Quanchi that choose to go to Quanchi over going to Scituate. Do you think I get upset about that? No. Of course, there's a part of you that just wants to finish the job you started with, kids. But Mike doesn't tell kids you can't go to Mayo Quanchi. He's not gonna do that, right? So, I mean, it is what it is. So these programs that are not providing the academic and athletic services for people that they should be providing for them, well, shame on them. Go do what you need to do. Stop putting some emphasis in it. Put some of your skin on the line. I know this. I am working at getting better every single day. I am obsessed with it. Look at the wrestling room I just built in my house. It's a professional facility. Now, the sauna and the jacuzzi and the cryo chamber are not in yet, but I promise you this, before fall, all of those things will be in for these athletes so that we give them 100% what the top tier kids need. There's just a little bit of a gap that our top kids need that they don't get, and it can't be just the Gabriels that get it. Otherwise, we're only going to have one or two. If we want to be a consistent factory of producing top-level, national-level kids, we've got to provide the services that they need, and we're going to do that 100%. Whether people hate me for it or not, I could not care less. We're going to keep going. People can say whatever they want to say. They can throw stones, or they can embrace it and say, hey, we want to do this too, or hey, Serge, can you help us with this kid? Because I can promise you this, I'm not gonna try to steal kids. I'm not gonna try to like harm high schools in some certain way. I'm not gonna try to have kids come to Scituate and be coached by me. In fact, when I have kids from other schools that wrestle against Mayo Quanchi, that wrestle against Scituate that are also from Mayo Quanchi, I do not coach the match. I will sit back and I'll have either Dan or somebody else coach the match, because I will not coach two Mayo Quanchi kids, even if it's my son.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You don't want that.
No, because I'm interested. Okay, let me ask you another question, Max. Let me ask you a question. Here's a good trivia question for you. How many college scholarships have come from high school wrestling?
Oh, I don't even know. I bet it's a lot less than I think, you know.
I should qualify the statement also by the question by saying, how many do you think come from high school wrestling in New England?
Oh, even less. Maybe. Like, how many kids get scholarships out of New England?
For high school wrestling?
Maybe like, I'd say 5, maybe something like that. D1. How many?
You will not even see a Division I wrestling coach at any state championship in New England. You will not see a Division I wrestling coach walking around at New England's. You will not see them. You know why? They're not there. They don't give a shit about what happens in Rhode Island high school wrestling, or in Connecticut high school wrestling, or in Massachusetts or Maine or New Hampshire or Vermont. They don't care. You're going to get college scholarships in the off season at club team wrestling. That's how you get college scholarships. That's how Gabe got a college scholarship. Has nothing to do with any of that stuff. Go to Fargo, go to Super 32, go to all the other club team dual meets, ultimate club duels, things like that. That's where you're going to see college coaches. Now, you might see some at like Escape the Rock, Iron Man, Powerade
tournaments, Beast of the East, stuff like that.
How many New England teams are there?
2, usually 2 at the most.
Yeah. So the level is so small of kids that are going to get college scholarships from high school wrestling in the New England area. It's not PA. It's not Pennsylvania State Championships where Cale Sanders is sitting in the stands watching the finals, right? It's not. We're not going to ever be that, and that's fine. It doesn't mean that you can't go out and do what you need to do. Like, even at my own club, Gabe was the only kid in Vegas at U.S. Open. Like, why? I tell the people, oh, we're not ready. Why? What makes you ready? Just get out there. You'll be amazed. You need to win a match over a kid that is good. You don't need to win the tournament. It's one of the things that
just get the exposure.
I'm gonna give Mike Joyce props for a second. One of the things that Mike Joyce has been very good at, right, was bringing attention. Like, how many tournaments has his children actually won?
Like his children?
Yeah. I'm talking about the biggest level tournaments. How many have they won?
Maybe a couple. I'm trying to think, like.
Guess what?
You're talking the team,
It
right?
doesn't matter. You know why? You know why it doesn't matter? Because every time they get a notable win, Mike sends that off.
Mm-hmm.
And he communicates to colleges, and he communicates to people doing the rankings, Matt Scouts Willie. He will get on there and he will advocate saying, hey, my kid just beat this kid number 13. He even does it for Gabriel. He'll call me or text me saying, like, hey man, do you know that Gabriel just beat this guy? He's this, this, and this. And I don't even know. I don't even know the kid. But Mike knows who the hell he just beat. And I don't know. I don't know the kid's ranking and all this other stuff. I'm so concentrated in getting, like, because we have so many kids that I have to concentrate on, I can't individualize, where Mike has a little smaller, and he does that. You don't have to win freaking Fargo. You have to win some matches against key people, and you will see you'll get on rankings. Mm-hmm. You will see that if you do the right things and say the right things and you're sending the emails off to the right people, you're going to get noticed. And Mike does an amazing job at that. People can dislike him all they want, but the bottom line is he's good for New England wrestling. Very good. Yeah. Very good. We not only do I not dislike him, I actually really, really like him. And I wish we had 10 more just like him. Mm-hmm. It would be fantastic.
Someone with just that much love for the sport and is willing to just, stay on top of it. But like you said, we're constantly emailing. It's great.
Him and I at times have philosophical discussions where we are not on the same page at all. I will tell Mike exactly what I think. And you know what? And he'll fend for himself and say exactly what he thinks. But at the end of the day, he's my friend and I'll fend for him. Like, I've seen him stand up and help kids for no reason that he does not have to help. They're not on his team. He's good people. And, I'm happy. I'm happy. We need 10 more just like him. Not 1, 10. Hey, if we could get even more than that, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's start building programs. Let's start building more club teams. Let's start introducing more kids to wrestling. Introduce more kids to wrestling. Guess what? Your pyramid starts getting bigger and bigger. That means you got more kids up here at Gabriel's level. You got kids like Peyton Ellis, David Perez, Hayden Myers.
That just skyrockets, That's what we need in New England.
We need that. We need to collaborate. We need to work together. Mm-hmm. We don't work together enough. Some of the club teams, they push athletes, and it's not a good look. That I will say, I understand why some of the club teams don't want to work together, because club team coaches will send emails out to other kids or call them on the phone saying, you're going to come to me to get better. And I don't do any such thing. Like, we have a lot of kids that come to Mayo Quanchi to work out. Take like Nate Blanchett. He's a Smitty's Bond kid. You're never going to see things about Nate Blanchett training at Mayo Quanchi, because he's not my kid. I don't care if he's come and visited Mayo Quanchi 1,000 times. Him and Gabriel grew up doing judo together. And they came, I can't tell you how many Saturday practices, but I didn't develop Nate Blanchett. Jimmy Pedro developed him for judo, and Smitty's Bond developed him for wrestling. And that I invite Nate, and he comes over to things, and I think the coach knows. I think Smitty knows that I'm not going to tell kids, you're going to come to Mayo Quanchi, and I'm not going to try to undermine a program. It's just not good. So if we get a bunch of club teams, we got to just remember that we have to like try to preserve each club. Don't steal people. I don't do that as Mayo Quanchi. You don't see me. You'll never see me tell people, hey man, if you want to get to the next level, you're going to leave your club. You're going to come to Mayo Quanchi. And I think that, you know, we have a marketing thing that we could use to say that the number of kids and the amount of success that we're having, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do we have? Most of the Rhode Island state champions came out of Mayo Quanchi. But if everybody's in one place, that's not good either. It's just not good. You got to have a diversified place where you have rivalry. Rivalry breeds work ethic. You have that rivalry. You need a little bit of heat between teams in order to be rising up to the level that you need to get to. And it has to be a positive rise, not some negative stuff. Anyway, I have to go in 15. I have 10 minutes actually.
Gotcha.
10 minutes to finish our interview because I have to be at I have private lessons at 4:00.
Are they going to be held right behind you?
I'm never late. No, I'm not doing private lessons here at 4. I got to do them at the main building at 4 because then I roll right into 6:00 practice. So I do 4 o'clock and a 5:00 private usually every day, except for Fridays. I do like Fridays I do hair, Saturdays I do hair, Sundays I do hair. But otherwise, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at Mayo Quanchi, and then the rest of the privates are all here.
So I guess just one last question then is, who are some people from Mayo Quanchi aside from like Gabe and Raekwon that might make some noise at Fargo?
I think you're going to see Preston Marchessault make some noise, and I think you're going to see David Perez make some absolute noise. I got some new kids going too. It's some of their first times there. I got Ken Courier that has not placed at Rhode Island States, but when you go and watch him at the national tournaments, that kid wins like 4 matches. It's amazing. So you never know what Courier.
A little bit. What's his name?
Ryan Courier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard that name before. I forget what school he's at, but
he's at Charahoe.
Yeah.
He's at Charahoe. This year, he got so sick just before states. I forgot whether he had mono. Like it was like one thing after another for that poor kid. Dang. But you know, he had a tough division. Because he had Montefusco, who's also a Mayo Quanchi guy.
Roland, right? I think
he's from Cranston West.
Cranston West. I get those two mixed up.
Yeah, and he had one of the Hood brothers who was really tough. He had the Hood that I think it's Jason.
Yeah, the 45, 52 guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason was the kid. Was the last person I think in Rhode Island to ever beat Gabriel. He beat him in the 6th grade. Yeah, it was middle school state championships.
Wow.
And Gabe was ahead. He was taking him down, letting him up, taking him down, letting him up. And
I think I know where this is going.
Hood caught him in like a head chancellor.
Yep.
Got him on his back and pinned him. It was something that he caught him in. It was great. I mean, I give him all the credit in the world.
But Gabe was up big during when he got caught.
Yeah. And then he got to wrestle him again in NHSCA's, and then I don't think, Hood's never beat him again since then. But Hood's a solid wrestler. He's no joke. I mean, just because Gabe's beating him doesn't mean like he's not a solid wrestler. He's solid. He's a national contention kid. Hats off to him. But he was good enough to stick Gabe, and Gabe's no easy target to stick, right?
Yeah.
So 6th grade, I mean, it is what it is. But that's the only loss I think Gabe's taken in Rhode Island since then.
Oh, I got one last question then too. You know, this is for Serge the dad. You know, what does it mean to just have Gabe, you know, your son, just be such an accomplished wrestler, and you know, you're traveling to all these great tournaments and having all these great experiences with him. So just what's that like as a father?
Well, to be honest with you, I've been down this road with my kids in judo where they've accomplished like at the top level. So it's not something new for my kids to accomplish at the national and international level. But for Gabe in wrestling, one of the best things is this: the only person that I coach that is 100% vested in the program is Gabriel. Everybody else, their parents have their own ideas. They fall off track. They get, stuff in their head from other coaches or other people. They miss practices. They do different things. They go to other camps. I don't really structure 100% of what they do. Where Gabriel, the proof is in the pudding, because I structure 100% of every single thing he does. Like, he will not even have he'll be cordial with other coaches and other parents and stuff like that. He'll be nice, but he will not listen to advice from anybody outside of myself, because he knows that he knows that I have experience to make a international level athlete. We've had a lot of them. Like, he's been sitting at home and have either UFC champions or Olympic champions, between Olympic gold medalists and silver medalists sitting at our table. Like, I can't tell you how many times here to be coached by me, right? So Gabe's not stupid. And so it's really relieving to have that one person that will listen to every single thing that you say, that you can pour 100% of your coaching in, knowing it's not going in one ear and out the other. Like, Gabriel has never been coached by anybody outside of myself. He had Coach Bob Saws help him about a little bit as he's a kid. So Bob would help him with his top and things like that. And then Steve Markow would help and give advice. Basically, that's about really it. But now we got, Coach Kareem comes down from Xavier. He'll come down to Mayo Quanchi practices. Gabe will listen to him. He has a lot of respect for Kareem. And there are coaches now that have come into the periphery that he'll listen to their philosophies and maybe put something into action that they're saying or doing. Like, he'll listen to Donnie Vincent and Mike Gray, and he listened to Keith Gavin. And he listens, and if you're a qualified coach now, he'll listen to. But all growing up until just very recently, me, Steve Markow, and Bob Sauce.
Wow.
But Bob Sauce, who was my assistant coach for a long time at Mayo Quanchi, was an amazing asset. Like, I know you don't know him, but when I tell you that Bob Sauce is like a textbook of wrestling, Mayo Quanchi, we have a homework room.
Nice.
So we have a tutor that comes and does tutoring with the kids all the time to make sure that you keep your grades where they need to be. So we try to give you a full wraparound service. There's a weightlifting gym in the back. And right now there's like a little kids judo class going on. I'll open the door. It's usually like chaos, but this is the littlest kids on the mat right now. And I'm pretty sure that a large percentage of those little kids are feral. My wife runs that class. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So okay. What were we saying? I was in the middle of a sentence, and then it was just like, boom.
Yeah. We were talking about someone being the textbook wrestling coach.
Oh yeah, Bob Saws. He was one of the guys that helped me with Gabriel when Gabriel was a kid. He moved away a few years ago. He's in Florida now. He's helping out at a club in Florida, a rec team, Di Grigoli's rec team and club, and they're doing a good job. Bob always does an amazing job.
Sure.
So, aside from that,
my last big question I have is, Scituate had 2 New England qualifiers last year, right? And, both of them return, correct?
Hmm.
So, do you think there's anyone else on the team that could join them?
I have. Let's just say I expect more than 2 this year.
Nice.
And then we're actually going to get really good after Gabe's done, unfortunately. So the kids
yeah, that sucks.
Kids that I'm building, and I'm not saying that these kids aren't good, but there's a group of kids coming up under Gabriel that are like to the level of Gabe, and there's a few of them that are just going to be tough to stop. And I'm not really, it's not that I don't want to win as a team, but I'm more interested in what my kids do individually as opposed to having a full lineup of hammers. I don't intend to rival upon against it at anytime soon, or Coventry, or any of them. What I'm going to do is I'll have my share of New England champs and high school All-Americans, but I'm really chasing those kids that want to get college scholarships, and they're few and far between. And then the kids that are going to have to wrestle at high school and do club team and come to see the tutor every single day during the season, so to make sure they keep the grades up. And the things I'm hunting for is not going to be conducive for an entire team. Not that I don't want an entire team to win, and not that I don't think that we could definitely keep creeping up there. We're creeping up there. A lot of people don't see us coming. But
I have you guys at number 19 in my top 25.
Well, you might see more than one New England placer this year. I'm not going to talk about the kids that are rising up into the 9th grade, or kids that have moved into town, or any of that stuff. But there's a few kids that I expect more to be at New England's this year than what were there last year.
Well, let's talk about a kid that did make it then. Robbie Newton, who's 106, and he's a Mayo guy, right?
Yeah, Robbie Newton is a late bloomer. If you see him now, he still doesn't have a ton of muscle, but if you talk about a kid that's technically sound, watch him wrestle. He is technically all there, and when his body catches up to that technique, everybody better look out. You remember Joao Vicente?
That sounds familiar.
Well, he ended up All-Americaning for Johnson and Wales. I think he took 6th.
Is he a Rhode Island guy? Like from Rhode Island?
He's a Rhode Island guy. He ended up being 2-time state champ.
No.
He was a late bloomer too. He went 2 years without winning a match before he came to Mayo Quanchi. And another kid that was like that went a couple of years without winning a match. I think Hayden Myers, if you want to look at me as a coach, judge me by Hayden Myers. Hayden Myers is a New England champ now, and 3-time high school champ and 4-time high school finalist, right? Mm-hmm. That kid went 2 years without winning a match, and he went a full year, I think, without scoring a point. I'd have to ask him again if that was correct, but I remember when he left his
schooler.
Huh?
How old was he then? Like middle school or something?
Right up into middle school, he was not exactly what I would consider a star athlete.
Now, yeah,
he was a late bloomer. Well, Hayden worked harder than anybody you want to meet. I mean, the kid was a workhorse. Even he was not a good wrestler at all, and he just worked his butt off to do that. And if you look at Robbie Newton, he's here at every single practice that he could possibly be at. He is dedicated. He's working hard. Every time I say, "Hey, do you want to come to the scrapyard?" that kid's like, "Yes, I want to go. I want to be there." Every extra practice I invite him to, that kid wants to be there. He's not just going. He's going because he wants to be there. That's huge. So I see big things for Robbie.
That's awesome.
If not this coming year, the following year.
Yeah, well,
I mean, look at kids like Ryan Currier. Not Ryan Currier. I apologize. But we've had a lot of kids that were not not the best athletes, like Ryan Conlon.
Ryan Conlon, you said?
Yeah, Ryan Conlon was like 80 pounds going in as a high school kid. Robbie Newton was like 94 pounds wrestling at state. He never even hit 106. He's just starting to hit 106 now.
Wow. So do you think he's going to be 106 next year too?
I don't know. I tend to not. I'm not a big weight cutter coach. I think it burns more kids out of the sport than any other thing. Kids can work as hard as they want for as long as they want. When we start cutting weight is when we just wipe kids off the map. And when you got kids that are struggling like him already. So if you get a kid like Robbie, who's third at state, but was clearly the best kid in the state, you want to just add some recipe for not succeeding. Just make him cut a shitload of weight and have him losing matches while being miserable. I'd prefer like he concentrates on getting bigger and stronger and lifting weights and eating good food than getting smaller. I have a different approach than a lot of wrestling coaches.
No, I like that because like you said, you know, cutting all this weight, getting miserable, and then losing matches. That's how you get a kid to hate the sport. You know. Now,
if I was 100% just about high school wrestling with Scituate, I'd be like, yeah, I want that kid at 106. We're going to keep him there. It's a good spot for him. Blah blah. That's not the case at all. I'm going to make decisions based on what's best for Robbie as opposed to what's best for a regular high school wrestling team.
That's smart though, you know, because it is for the kids in the end, you know?
It is for them in the end. If you're looking at getting scholarships or you're looking at getting these kids into the colleges that they need to get into, if you smoke them out, if they're crispy by the time they hit college, they're done. So in order to, I had this talk actually with Mike Joyce not that long ago. He's like, you got to be careful about how much wrestling you do because kids are crispy by the time they get into college. And I was like, no, that's not true. You can wrestle all you want. Kids are crispy by the time they get to college because they've been cutting weight for 4 and 6 years before they go there. That's why they're crispy. If you think that you're going to get up to be the D1 All-American level without wrestling a ton, you're out of your mind. You've got to wrestle a lot. It's really, really important. And I actually got the saying a kid is crispy from Mike Joyce and John Clark at Sacred Heart. Mm-hmm. But I totally don't agree with that. It's what makes kids crispy is cutting weight. Yeah. Extra injuries, like you name it. The weight cutting just burns kids' bodies out to death.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's seen it with their own eyes, you know, either their friend or family member that's been cutting weight for the sport and they just look miserable, you know?
Yeah, you can't find an athlete at Mayo Quanchi that I tell to cut weight. I'll walk you right into the weight room. Here you go. Here's your alternative to cutting weight. Let's increase your caloric intake and your nutrient level, and let's hit the weights. Hell with cutting weight. It's not a recipe for success. If you want to become a successful Division I athlete, it's about technique, hard work, get as strong as what you possibly can. It's not about cut weight, burn yourself out, or any of those things. You want to make a kid hate a sport, just stop him for a while. How angry do you get right now? Your life is your own. How angry do you get from miss one meal? Like, it's just not good. You gotta eat 6 times a day. I push that on Gabriel all the time. Even heading into Fargo, he ate 6 times today. Guarantee you he ate 6 times today.
What weight is he registered at? 45?
45. Yeah, 45. He's got I think he weighs like 148 right now. Okay. So he's good. Yeah. That's one run away.
Yeah.
He's good. Now you go to Fargo. Have you ever been out there?
I never have.
It's brutal. You go outside for 5 minutes and run, and the weight will fall off of you immediately. It's just I've like every day.
It's terrible out there.
It's I don't know what it is about that heat, but it just sucks the life directly out of you.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Serge?
yeah, you know, I'd like to do more of these. I'd like to maybe do some in the season, maybe do a couple in the at some major tournaments. Maybe we could do a little report from Fargo. I can hold a thing for you. Like,
Yeah,
I'm all about
definitely do
building
that.
New England wrestling, and I see you as a part of that. I see you as a part of the key to our success. And you're young, and you're going to probably be doing this for a while, and you've got the right attitude and the way you talk. You can, you know, relate with the kids. You can relate with everybody, and you do your homework. So, you know, I want to see this thing grow. I want to see wrestling grow. I want to see us become a national powerhouse in New England, and I think we can do it.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do it. I know we can do it, and I know I'm gonna do it, with or without everybody. I'm doing it.
MQ's on the come up, you know.
Yeah, it's been
Ready,
a bit,
you know.
but now we're gaining major momentum. Now, when you get 3 national champs in 1 year, 1 at the NCAA level and 2 at the high school level, and another finalist, David Perez was also a finalist, and then however. I don't know how many medals we took at Virginia Beach Nationals, but I want to say it was between 10 and 14 total medals. That's nothing to sneeze at, regardless of whether you're adding middle school or high school together. Those middle schoolers turn into high school guys.
Eventually.
Right? Yeah. So thanks for everything. I'm glad you had me on. I look forward to it. Come visit Mayo Quanchi. Whoever wants to come visit Mayo Quanchi anytime. I promise I ain't going to try to steal you from your club. But you got a place to go, and you got a place to work out, and then go back home where you belong. Right?
Awesome. Thank you, Serge.
All right, brother. Thanks a lot. We'll see you later.